Here we are.
Hello.
Ayo world. That's the most Teletubby intro I've ever given. I'll never give it again. That's it. Congratulations, you have received the Teletubby opening. How are you, Sam?
I'm good. Are we live?
Yeah?
Twitch has been weird for me, I guess.
I'm being told that we're live.
It's not coming up for me on. I'm gonna refresh this page because sometimes it. That's what it was.
Are we just on the wrong place?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where we're at today, people.
I was on the right.
Hmm?
I was on the right place. Sorry, the two sets of audio suddenly was throwing me. I was on the right place. It just wasn't coming up as saying, like, I'd clicked the button which was like, hey, go watch the show, but when I went to the actual thing, it was saying we were offline.
Right.
And I was like, wait, this happened before. And I just refreshed the whole thing. And now it's fine because everything's there.
We're here to play some more Godkiller.
Yes.
And I am gonna, so that you know ahead of time, especially Sam, I'm gonna lean into the cruelty this time.
Okay.
Came up against like the the god of the ocean, Dadiah, and let Dadiah live, and I'm mad about it. I'm so mad. I'm still mad. I'm still mad about it. I feel like it was the right thing to do, but I'm still angry.
Is that, like, to clarify, is Kai mad about it or is Shauntelle mad about it?
Kai.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay.
Kai.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that we're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna find this god. I'm gonna have revenge on everyone.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I don't want to kill you.
It's like, oh no, my actions have consequences.
My actions have consequences and I fucking hate it. I got to know someone and I didn't like it. So we're gonna dial up the cruelty because now I don't have anyone to take it out on. I couldn't take it out on, like, guy with a family. Just Joe Blogs with a family. And
like just the most decent, like, temple guard that you could have. It was
so
probably
angry.
immensely convenient for the Dadiah to that's who you met and not like anyone else.
Dadiah better be giving him the blessings, because
I mean, to be fair, like, I imagine that you have essentially, you've shaken Dadiah to their core.
Good.
I
fucking better be scared.
I imagine, like, that, when that a lot of these gods were pretty good before everything went terrible, which I think is, like, in some cases is said to be like 10,000 years ago. So it's like, and it's just basically they've been in like survival mode that whole time, and so you've basically just walked up and reminded them that they've got a job to do in there. And so I think you do have a sort of like it is a sort of like, no, right, I do have a duty of care kind of thing, and I've let that slip. And so I think it is I don't think it will always be that will always be the reaction.
Oh, no.
But I think for Dadiah,
there is currently, like, presumably a mortal Godkiller here. A mortal Godkiller will die eventually. That's literally the point.
I mean, probably, but also maybe not.
Maybe not.
I mean, what we definitely won't come up today, but I did have a one because we joked before, is like, I think at least at one point in the book it refers to the GM as like the god of gods. So it's like, does that mean the GM is the end boss? Like, that's the last god. You've got to.
Sam, if I have to come to Queensland to kill you in order to win the game,
there's no dice. This is just a brawl on the street.
This is just a brawl on the streets.
But the immediate thought I had for that is kind of like what's the god? I mean, I don't know, spoilers for the second Matrix or the third Matrix. When he meets the architect,
They're like 15 years old. We're gonna let it
yeah,
go.
there's I don't know what the statute of limitations for spoilers is.
2 weeks, I believe.
Look, that's a debate for another time.
Yeah,
But
it
like the
really
whole
is.
idea is they get there
Never
and you're
enough
like,
for
and
me,
it's
but
and the whole thing is like, I'm gonna fight you. It's like, no, you're supposed to be here. This is the point. Everything you just did. This is not the first time. And I just imagine like getting there and being like, no, you're supposed to. It's like, yeah, you now. It's like there's a source of power. It's run out.
yes.
You kill me. You take my job. You reignite the source of power, and it will run for a long, long time, and
Yep.
it'll eventually run out, and this will start again. And so you get to restart the pantheon with you as the god of gods, and all the ones you spared are your initial pantheon, and then it sort of grows from there. And so this whole, and obviously they could be like, no, I choose not to do that.
I
But this
almost
thing, like, the ending is like, yeah, that's what happens. All right,
yeah.
what do you do?
Speaking of spoilers, I very nearly just immediately went, "Oh yeah, that's also the plot of other show
It's, I think
that
it's a,
that
it's a,
has where the statute of spoilers has run out very categorically because it's been out for maybe 6 months, but I still didn't want to spoil it because I realized that it's a good show. The Matrix, however, has been out since I was a primary school child.
oh,
So I feel like for like what 30 years it's been
no, that's not true. That's not true.
no.
No, no.
No.
It was
Wait,
not.
what year is this?
I was not.
2024.
I was not 8 years old when the second Matrix movie came out. He says with hope and
You're
desperation in
so,
his voice.
you're so confident. No, I'm talking about the first one though. I remember sitting on the couch in like
No,
my
the second one came out in 2003.
when did the first one come out? It was in the 90s, right? No, late
99.
99.
Yeah.
So I'll just state it again. It's been 25 years or so.
Look, there's a degree of tongue in cheek when I talked about the spoiler thing, but also I know people who are
Sam, I need to
very
stop. We
against.
need to play this game
Yes,
so that
sorry.
I don't really think about how much time has
Yeah.
passed in my life.
It's like
Because if we stay in this world, then I will be too angry to return to the other world.
this
And this character needs to get out that anger, and I can live through them and not through me.
this this RPG show became a philosophical debate so suddenly that we definitely noticed.
It hurts. I don't want it.
So,
Yeah.
as a recap of the previous two episodes, Kai, our titular Godkiller, has now confronted two gods. They confronted Pestilence, the Winter Rot,
Yes.
in a sort of just a state of rage, not really, kind of not expecting it to go well for them, because why would it? But then it turned out it did, and they killed
Yeah.
their first god and
They
realized,
went to rage
oh,
against
hello.
the machine, and the machine broke.
And the machine just broke, and it's like, that's what?
I just
That's
wanted
not
to
how that.
rage. I
Yeah,
just wanted to rage.
I just didn't want to go quietly into that good night. I didn't expect to.
Oh, I didn't expect the good night to die.
And then you talked to Poto, who had been cursed by Nadaya, the goddess of sea and storms,
Mm-hmm.
and learnt that some things are cyclical and some things had been going on and on, but also, as you've sort of talked about a bunch of other people, that like the gods are still important
Yes.
to various things that they do, despite the fact that they aren't really exactly actively controlling their domain. They still keep it in check to an extent. But you ultimately realize that you knew that the thing you needed to confront the god, because there's a recap, you need to both know what their heart form is, which is their true form, and what their downfall is, which is the thing that if you can use their downfall while they are in their true form, that's when they're vulnerable to you.
Yes.
But in that last moment, you decide to spare Dadaya, and you got to, like, I think you got like to make a demand of them, of which you demanded that they free Poto of their curse, which they did.
Yes.
And then you went and had tea with Poto.
Because if there's something that I want to do, I'll do it myself. That one I can't do. You have to fix it.
That's the thing. Like, curses are an interesting thing. Curses are an interesting mechanic in this game.
Yes.
But as for the other gods that we are at least aware of, there is the Orphan Maker, or the Grand Teacher, depending on who you ask, whose roving band of marauders, or also referred to as the Board of Education,
Yep.
do seem to be
A
going.
great educator.
And depending on who you are, sometimes they are marauders who steal children, and sometimes they are like a highly equipped, highly intelligent, like highly educated group of like kind of almost like a PMC group that are basically giving opportunities to people who don't have a lot of other options, and sort of been like offering a better life to their children. So it is a very big mixed bag of like, depending on who you ask, that's why you get either the teacher or the orphan maker.
Yeah. God, the concept of a deity is a very complex thing, and so why would it not be?
You also got assistance though from the way home, which seemingly without them asking for anything in return, which is suspicious from a god.
Yep.
They don't do that.
They don't
So,
do that.
So those are but obviously there are so many gods. They describe the land as when you start to really look, you realize that the land is kind of littered with their corpses, and there's still so many left.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
In some cases, in some areas when you sort of look, you can start now that you know, you can sort of look and you sort of going, oh, hang on, and you realize that that sort of that structure, that's not like a ruin, that's the corpse of a god. That's not.
Oh, I see.
That's not. I thought that was just like that's not like an overgrown like thing. That's the corpse of a god. And given that it's difficult to know, but like because gods can ultimately look like their true form can be kind of anything. But I think as Kai gets more and more, they're sort of realizing it's one of the things that's like once you start seeing it, you're like, oh, it's everywhere.
Can't unsee it. We're seeing it everywhere now.
And it's sort of like this has been going on for like 10,000 years since the river dried up, and the gods have had to basically kill each other to keep themselves alive. And so and their corpses just don't kind of go away. But it is that thing is like, hang on, what happened to all those domains? Who knows?
Yeah. That's interesting information. So if you wanted to inflict as much pain on the gods in general as possible, you would kill a god you'd kill one of these two, right? The orphan makers, either one that can indefinitely create their own food, essentially, the orphan maker, like getting more worshippers, etc., et al., or the way home, someone that might remember how to get back to where things were good.
Yep.
I wonder if you can get both. That's the way forward and the way back.
I mean, that is a degree. Like the orphan maker definitely seems to be, in some regards, is essentially looking toward the future. They are dealing with children. They are dealing with the next generation. Where the way home is, looking back, like where you started, wherever home is. So that is, they are sort of two sides, potentially of the same coin, or
So the last place that I was
well, last we saw was you were having tea with Poto, but like
having tea with Poto.
We don't have to start from there. We can skip ahead.
We can. I'm just thinking what I would have done from there. I feel like I think for a very long time, or not for a very long time, but for a long time, Kai would be angry and trying to come to terms. I think just skipping ahead in terms of narrative, so that it said, I think Kai stays with Poto until Poto dies. So however long that would be,
Yeah.
Kai kind of spends that time with them.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea if it would be like, oh yes, he will simply die this day, or
Oh,
if it's like
I
in a number of years. But either way,
yeah.
I
My
would.
immediate thought was it was a number of months.
Okay.
Um, it was not like he's just like he didn't like he didn't like catch up immediately to him. It's sort
Mm,
of just like it kind of I think it probably like because he obviously he looked old, but
yes.
he looks like that's like oh wow he's really like fit and spry for his age. Where now he just looks his
He looks
age,
old.
and
Yeah.
then like but it was like you know he now looks like he's like 80 or 90 or something like that, and he but then a few months later he sort of he gets sick or he catches something. Like it's just sort
Yeah.
of like it
Something
kind
will
of just
happen.
put him at that point where it's like you are now that old in that circumstance.
Yeah. It will.
It's
The season will change, and it will be too
yeah,
cold for you
winter's
very
going to be
suddenly.
rough. It's like
Yeah. Right. Um. So I think that when Kai buries him, buries Poto, that is the last time that Kai intends to have anything to do with the death of a mortal.
okay,
That's it. They've buried all of the people that they had residual care for.
is that true? Because there's at least one other person that you might have residual care
One
for,
person.
who I was eventually going to bring up, depending on what your next step was.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, they're telling themselves that's the last person that they have residual care for. Timmy, Tommy, Timmy,
I want to say Tobias,
Tobias. And it
Tobias,
was
or
he,
no, or Toby, depending on. I guess,
Toby,
so you probably called him Toby.
probably Toby. Toby or Tobes, Tobias, Tobias Andrin, whatever the name is from a solid perspective. Kai spends a lot of time thinking about how easy it was for Toby to turn their back.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it's totally fine for Kai to think of it in those terms.
it's
It's a little rough because it was the outcome of you breaking a curse. It wasn't like
it's the outcome of breaking a curse, but like to what degree do people in this world know um what curses do, whether or not to respond to them, how to respond to them, like, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's that thing of, yes, I did a thing, you won't listen. Like, why is this so? Did we not trust each other? Were we not friends?
yeah,
You have, even though it might be magical, it is too easy for you to
sure.
turn
I mean,
away from me.
it's also like the fact that no one remembered that multiple villages had been destroyed. Like
Yeah.
part of,
Oh,
and that was an
absolutely.
active thing that the god was doing. So it could also be like it's like the curse. So it could be a thing that you confront them and it's like, but I've always hated you. It's like, yes, but did you always hate me like since like last
Yeah.
Tuesday? And they're like, ooh,
Yeah.
wait,
Have you hated me, like, you know how that a
yeah,
couple months ago, like, something, you didn't
yeah,
hate me that much. But I think in order for Kai to do the things they need to do, hmm, they're gonna kill the way home. Or at least try to.
You have to cut off the way back in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ways in which that's kind of the thing. It's like, yes, I could try to go back and solve this. I could try to go back and talk Toby out of this cursed experience. But how much do I have to experience? How much more loss do I need to experience where I need to fight for what I can get?
Yeah.
And to Kai, they're already so angry that, like, that the orphan maker didn't want to take Toby. They're just angry
I
that.
think.
Mm,
Did we determine that? Because my notes, it was like that they had tried to take Toby and failed, or they did. Toby escaped.
I didn't get the second one.
All right, but they did try to take. In that case,
Yeah, Toby was on the list, I think.
Yeah.
And didn't go for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Kai is like, well, you managed to escape doom. I did not. And here I am. And here's what my life is like. I don't want it. Kai isn't thinking about that. Kai is going to continue killing gods.
Yeah.
Until they cannot move anymore.
Sounds like a plan.
I think that's the plan.
So, if you're going after the way home, you did see them in like a vision.
I've seen them in their true form.
Well, you saw them in a vision.
It was either their true form or their location.
Yes, I think that I was about to say, it's like, you got something good out of it.
Yes.
But you don't know if it was like an important location or the true form. But you have one of those two pieces of information.
Yes.
So what do you? And we can, as I said, we could skip. This is what you've been doing, but you can, like, it's been a few months. You will, say about 6 months you're with PbtA, and then but then from there it could be you've done more. But what is the process you do to try and figure out either what you have or where you need to go?
I think they do actually go back to Toby.
Yeah.
Because I think part of finding the way to kill the way home is by going the way home.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to go back in order to find what's back there. So they're going to try to do that. 1 second, I think I'm about to sneeze. No? Okay. But yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go back. So they get back to that town.
Yeah.
And look around. Who is there? What is there? How much do the people still hate them?
It's probably not. Like, hate's probably, because it's not. They didn't hate you. Their goodwill was destroyed.
Right.
So it's not this, like, hate feels, I guess, too active. They're not like actively like, fuck this person, but they are just sort of like, it's
passively they're like, oh.
And I think, and they know, like, for them, because it was like everyone else has it on a low-key level, but they know it's like, you caused a bunch of pestilence and chaos.
Yes.
Like, that was your fault. Like, it's your fault my parent or child died, or my crops withered, or and like, even some people who had like good things happen, like, you caused this good thing, but then this bad thing also happened.
Yes.
And it's like, and they copped it a lot worse. Well, everyone in that sort of close radius copped it worse. So they probably had quite a turbulent time. But as you know, it's been months, and they are sort of recovering. You do sort of get it in the sense, because there's another fishing village that like it occurs to you that like in the past it's usually either been like boom or bust.
Yeah.
You sort of realize because like either Dadiah was like actively helping you or tearing you up from the root by the roots.
Yeah.
But now it's sort of like it has had that sort of equilibrium where it's like it's not the best.
Not the
It's not the
worst.
best year they've had, but it's been enough. They've been okay. You know, they've had to deal with a bunch of hardships, but they've had enough to be able to sort of weather it as long as they sort of knuckle down a bit. And so whether that's like as a result of Dadiah being a bit more measured, or it's just sort of like, but it does seem like it's like they've had to struggle, but they're doing okay.
Okay.
And I think they've probably like got over that like the worst of it in terms of all the things that were thrown in their face pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Where's Toby in all of this?
I think Toby has taken over his parents' boat as a fisherman.
Okay.
Which is not the case last time you saw them. So it's like
growing up,
got older, or something happened to the parent that was previously would be like he would go out with them, but now is now going out.
He's now doing the going out alone.
It's now there. That's just his job
him.
now.
That's what he's doing now. Where can I put my iPad? This desk is so full of things. So I'm gonna go up to Toby.
Yeah. What time of day do you think would you be arriving? And did you just like beeline to
crack of dawn? Like for the first, I think they'd get there and just like observe the town and then observe Toby for like a day, and then the next morning, crack of dawn, like head down to where Toby usually casts off.
Yeah, so they're down at like the dock. There's a bunch of other. There's all like the time of day with all the fishing vessels are getting prepped to head out for the day, and Toby's definitely looking like they weren't like you're roughly the same age, right? Like you were both adults.
Yeah.
You're both young adults, but it definitely seems like there's a sense of like has had to shed the last vestiges of the teenage years or the child, and has had to sort of now step up and become, you know, is had to sort of obviously have to take care of things, and so is like, but is looking very fit and healthy. It's sort of is clearly good at what they do, using. You know, and that thing of like, am I capable of stepping up and taking over this boat and doing everything? And the answer is clearly yes. Yes, they are. So they are very, you know, doing everything with a practiced ease as they sort of get ready for the day. You just approach them, or?
I think the aim is to approach without being seen, and well, which is kind of hard because I glow a little bit
to an extent. Like
it's a
you can like
glow, I guess.
You can,
I'm radiant.
It's. I think we've just sort of previous like it can sometimes be this thing where it's like you are just this glowing radiance of it was like this dark anti-radiance, as it were. But
Yeah.
you can also get it to basically pull it quite in, where it's not so much. It's more that you have like
Like, I have
a
an outlet.
shimmer. You have like a shimmer to yourself, or it's like
Mm.
this. You have an effervescence.
I'm
Uh,
effervescent.
it's like, and also feel like, I mean, you're the Godkiller. If you don't want these mortals to see you, I don't think that's overly difficult.
No.
Just from not even from a powers perspective. It's just skill wise. It's
Mm.
just, um, they're busy with what they're doing. You could probably walk up behind him without him really knowing about it.
You need some help today?
He does. He just sort of startles a bit, and like turns and sees you, and there's just a cocktail of emotion going on. Before he just sort of turns back to what he's doing, and just sort of says, "Haven't you done enough?"
If the tides have been kinder in the last 6 months, then maybe not. Maybe there is more to do.
Kinder is relative.
Yes, it is.
What do you want?
I'm not entirely sure.
Sort of rolls his eyes a little bit.
Why are you here?
I'm a fisherman. I fish.
Your father, your mother?
Well, someone decided to unleash pestilence on the land. My mother didn't make it. And my father can't walk. So here I am.
I'm sorry.
Forgive me for not taking you at your word.
Is there anything you need?
No. We're good. We got through it. We worked together. Gestures out, sort of the town in general. We survived.
Luckier than some.
That is true. Not as lucky as others.
No.
But we survived.
Is there anything you want?
I just want to get my fishing done. Care for my family.
The orphan maker didn't take you.
I tried. It's a long time ago.
Why?
They didn't say. Just said I was needed, wanted, required, I don't know.
You needed or wanted, or you weren't needed?
They said something about the orphan maker wanted me, but my parents didn't give them to me when they asked. Give me to them when they asked. So they took me. But I never got to wherever they were going to take me.
What happened?
Got out, got away, went back home.
And then they didn't come back. They didn't ask. Nothing happened after that.
I always assumed they would for a long time. We were looking over our shoulders. They never came back.
Hmm.
The person who helped me just told me they just said, run, get home, where it's safe. And so I did. Luckier than some.
Luckier than some.
I don't know why they wanted what they ultimately wanted me for. I don't know why the woman who helped me did. I don't know.
Okay.
I just know they were, I don't know, they were taking us along the Great Worm. The Great Worm is a road that is seen as the as like a mountain range.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess away from obviously away from the ocean, but like in that direction, the only way it's the easiest way through is a road that's referred to as the Great Worm.
Okay. Okay.
And that's where they were going. They were heading out that way.
If you could choose now, would you have gone?
Why would I leave my family? I don't know what they offered they had a big talk of grander things, but I've never wanted grander things.
Who did?
The Marauders, the Board of Education, whatever they call themselves. They talked about promised greatness or something. I don't know. It wasn't just to me; it was to a few of the people they took. Didn't make a lot of sense. I don't.
Do you know who else was taken? Do you know any names of those that were?
We were kept separate. I know there was a few from towns, but that were in the area, but not ones I'd gone to. There was. What was her name? It was Tell or Fen. Her name was Fen. I think she was from a village to the north. No, a logging camp. She was in she was held one down from me. We talked a little. But when we were released, the lady told us to scatter. She just pointed us each in a direction, told us to just go. That was our best chance. So I don't know what happened to any of them after that.
Going to kill another god.
Of course you are.
If I get my way, I'm going to kill them all.
So when I asked you if you'd done enough, the answer is no. And we should expect further calamity.
Consider that you would never have been taken from your family if the orphan maker hadn't existed. Consider that you wouldn't have memories like this now if the way home were barred.
Consider that I would have my mom if you hadn't killed a god.
Everyone dies.
Sure. Usually not as a direct result of your own actions. You talk about the gods doing terrible things, but terrible things happen. Are you really fixing the problem by doing more?
Terrible things happen. That's all.
Well, whatever helps you sleep, I guess.
I think this will help me sleep.
Well, if it helps you sleep, who cares about the lives you ruin?
Do you ever ask to say these things to the gods?
Well, they generally don't come up and talk to me on my boat, so I've not had the chance.
I didn't expect that I would be able to kill them, and yet here I am.
Well, I don't know what you want from me.
No. Nothing.
Apparently get this great power, and what you decide to do with it is be just as bad.
If I can end them, this isn't worth my time.
Then go. I have fishing to do.
I have the power of water. Right?
Yeah.
I have the power of water. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna.
This could go so badly, but sure, let's go.
So badly. What I want to do is mess with the tides.
to? What are you hoping to achieve?
Pull the water away from the shore and just leave the fish there. And then in a day or two, when I get bored of holding it up, that water's going to come back because water does that. But in the short term, the fishermen can go out and get their fish.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, wielding a power, you haven't done this specific act before, so
Mm-mm.
you are close to the domain of a god that you took the power from.
Mm-hmm.
Are you desperate for this to work?
No, I think it's more of a sort of because I'm by the ocean. It's like ooh, I feel something here that I don't think I've ever really tuned into before.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying that I'm out here doing terrible things, but maybe I can just make his job easier today. So it's not actively coming from a place of uh like I want to drown this town. Like I'm not trying to do that. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is I don't know, flood it.
Bring in a bunch of fish and then pulling the water away so the fish are easy to get.
Pulling the water away so the fish are easy to get, but the intention is also to show that I am powerful enough that I could flood your town.
Okay.
I'm actively trying to do that. And that is an active choice to be cruel in that moment of what more do you want from me? I've buried my town. You have not. You've had to bury one person. Is that reasonable? Is that fair?
Of leaning into his point of view being just as bad as the gods, but yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the difference is I'm mortal as far as I know. So mine is short-lived. If you want to come up against me, it could be even shorter-lived. So I'm going to pull that energy together. That's oh no. Oh no.
What did you get?
I got an 11.
Oh. Oh.
Hmm. What have I just done to destroy Toby's life?
You sort of like, so you do this, and it's just, and it's coming from a place of cruelty, and sort of like, you know, how dare you, you have no idea what I've been through.
Can I narrate what it looks like
Oh, please.
from my perspective and then you can spin it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So they pull this, it's almost like pulling a sheet and shaking it.
Yeah.
They pull all of this water up and it whips into this little like whirlpool. And then they shake it and it throws the water out, almost like a little tidal wave going out.
Yeah.
And they point down to where I presume probably boats are smashed now because
Yeah, because it's not, if
look
you're
at the
whipping it,
water.
you're whipping the water out like a sheet. It's
Yes,
not it's not a slow drop.
it's a
The water's just not there, and the boats all just drop,
yes,
a couple of meters or whatever it is. So like, pretty much every boat takes damage
yes.
to like their hull. The thing they need.
And
Um,
in that moment, the radiance that they have, the glow that they have, becomes this sort of dark ocean blue and radiates out of them, that effervescence. And then it disappears, and they say, I hope that makes the fishing easier for you.
So Toby's like, I mean, you sort of kept balance and all that, but like the ship just dropped out from under him. He's just like pressing himself, as trying to get as far away as the boat will allow him, just sort of like pressing himself up against like a cabin wall or something. And like everyone in the dock is now doing everything. Everyone is freaking out, and it's all very clear that you just glowed blue for a bit. Like everyone's like knows what had happened. And yeah, there's so much fish. They could just walk out and pick it up with their hands, but like there's also so much damage has been done to the infrastructure and to the boats, that it's like short term they'll be great, but like how long is it going to take to fix all this? And you just see fear from everyone. And Toby just looks at you and just says, I was wrong. You're not just like the gods. You're worse. What damage do you need to do? Much more harm.
Nothing more. And they turn and leave. And the goal is to walk to a crossroads.
Sure. Just like the nearest crossroads?
I mean, leaving that town, yeah.
Oh yeah. Like heading out of town.
Yeah.
But like, was there like a specific crossroads, or it's just like a crossroads?
It's one of those things where like in movies you might just like be walking and then you're like all of a sudden you're in a dream and you're still walking. But you've walked to the place that you were trying to get to, and the place they're trying to get to is where the way home is. God of Wanderlust.
So you're just sort of like trying to like feel out the direction you need to be going.
They're just kind of wandering until they find, I suppose in a way what they're doing is leaving the
you could, I guess, potentially could be feel someone or something out, the move.
Feel something or someone out, or recognizing a god. Like going to a crossroads and then recognizing, like...
Oh, yeah.
It's not so much that they want to like confront her, but they do want to talk to her. If that makes sense. So I suppose they could pray for guidance, but they're not trying to pray for guidance. They're not trying to like get visions from her. They're trying to communicate with her.
All right, yeah. You walk out, you find a crossroads, and you sort of tap into your own divinity, as it were, to sort of, as I do, connect with or to sort of recognize the way home. So it's where is it? 2d6. I would say you're in or near their domain. I think we've established
I have a covenant with her, so I imagine I'd be familiar with her gospel.
That is true. I don't know if I'd say it's bad if you
I
didn't
don't know if
know,
it's bad.
but yeah, I'd say.
Okay. That's what's that? 6, 7, 8.
Right. You definitely feel like the influence of the way home. I think crossroads within their gospel have a symbolic importance. It's this degree of like, they're all about wanderlust, but also ultimately finding your way home afterwards. So it is just like, here is this point of like multiple options, one of which will take you home, others which will take you out. So it's like all of those are at some point important.
Yes.
Uh,
This is all part of your journey.
this is all part of the journey. You are given this uh, what is it? Omens, right? You do so. That's like the Toby mentioned the great worm,
Mhm.
which is like in that sense of like that in this area that
Mhm.
is the sort of the biggest, I guess, crossroads in that sense. Like one of those directions leads you literally out of this area into what for most people is the unknown. Like
Yeah.
that's like those mountains are like the barrier of what most people in this area know of. Beyond that is like I don't know what's going on out there, but
Mm.
that's the way you get there.
Yeah.
Weird things come in from there. That's how you can get out from there. It also leads to like back. It leads to all of this place. Is that if you're
Mm.
coming in the other direction? Um, so it is that sort of the ultimate crossroad uh, in this area. Um, and you're also mm, there's an edge of something else. It's like it's clear that that's important because it's like crossroads are important. It's the biggest. It's the crossroads for
Mm.
this area. It's the crossroads into this whole space.
Yeah.
But there's something else. It's just like that you can't. It, it sort of feels like there's something else like in the back of your head you can't quite put your finger on.
Is because it says a single
Follow
follow-up
up. Yeah.
question. In insofar as this space, does it seem to Kai that they have paths they can take? Like, as opposed to, you know how, like, if you're trying to get somewhere, you're not looking at all the crossroads.
Yeah.
You're looking at where you're going.
Yeah.
If Kai looks down the alternate roads, magical or not, is there like a glow to one of them? Is there something that looks like, oh yeah, this is the road that you should take. The others don't actually exist. Like a Truman Show. Like, is there just one
Yeah.
road here?
It's not so much like there's only one correct road. It is essentially because I think for like anyone else that would be the case,
Mhm.
but I think for you it's like these are all viable options. You can go wherever the hell you want. You have the ability now to make that choice.
Mm,
However, given what your current stated goal is, one of those is better for that.
right.
And that is the path that would take you, I guess, to the Great Worm. Um, but there's a sort of a sense of like, you could just choose another one and you would ultimately find a different god and be able to. And if you're saying like your overarching thing is kill all the gods, any of these roads will work because you can just walk in a
Mm,
road and you'll eventually find one. you are specifically mentally targeting the way home, then you want to go that way.
Right. And does that shine for me?
Yeah, it is sort of like, it probably doesn't like necessarily shine, but you are just hit by that thing of like, that's the way you want to go currently, but also you are very aware that you have just much more options than anyone else has. I'm just going to turn some lights on.
Mm-hmm. I the things I need to kill a god are their special item, them, the real them, and the environment, the right environment.
Or you need to possess whatever their downfall is, and you need to confront them with basically put their downfall with their heart, whatever that might mean, depending on what those two things are.
What would be the downfall of the way home? I think in this place, while I'm here, I'm going to pray for guidance from the Orphan Maker. Can I do that?
Yeah. So you name the aid and you answer one of the questions, and then I will describe the aid that you get and answer the other.
I would like to know what the downfall is of the way home. That the aid I seek is what would help me end this god. I want to answer the unclear omens because I want to know what kind of god the Orphan Maker is. That's the thing. That's what I want. If you could just answer both, that'd be the kind okay. I think I am beset with visions. And I just sort of fall to the ground shaking as I see hundreds upon hundreds of different roads, and I travel down all of them very, very quickly, like just blink of an eye, traveling down all of them until there is one with a dead end. There just isn't. The road just simply does not go any further. And it's not just like, oh yeah, after this the road ends and there's a field. No, it's like there is nothing, and the concept of nothing is a lot for a mortal. I have no idea what that means though. Just did this to myself.
While you're just beset, you get this sensation. You don't see anything about it, but you get this sensation of like, you feel like at the same time, it's like, it's two things at once, but they're both sort of similar. Is that sense of like a teacher is disappointed in you, but not because you've done anything wrong, but because they know you can do better. They know that you are able to do better than what you're currently doing, And it's just like, and it's like, because at this point it's not entirely on you. It's like, well, they're the teacher. They should be.
Yeah.
They need to get that out of you. And you just hear, you already know where to look. You need to know why to look. You need to know why.
To know why. Sensei. Suddenly feel like I'm in an anime. I'm going to follow the path. I saw all these different paths in my vision. I'm going to follow the paths until I get to that dead end. And if the god of Wanderlust should happen to turn up in that time, that's fine. We can walk together. But that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So you start walking down this path. And you, as I said, it felt like a dead end. And you come across, and it's not so much a dead end as it is a barrier. Like, there is, it looks like, as you said, like nothingness. But it's like, you feel like you could
get through it.
You could push through it. And maybe something on the other side is what you're looking for.
Then I will. Simply push through.
And how do you do that? Which it will be a move, but I think multiple moves make sense depending on how you go about this. So I think, like, you could just inflict violence, you could just burst your way through, you could potentially just tempt fate, you could build a power. I think all of those could be arguably it's probably the three that.
I think I'm going to try to wield rot.
Yeah.
I want.
So I wouldn't say you are near a shrine lair, but you are trying to tear down this barrier, which you have done before.
Yes.
You did it to when the person tried to contain you. Yeah. So you have used it in that way. Would you say that you are desperate for this to work?
Yes.
All right, +2.
And mark a strain. +2?
Yeah.
Overkill. Because that's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Again? Yeah, it was +2, right? This is a 9, +2. I'll describe what it looks like, what I do? Or do you have an image in mind?
I have an image in mind.
Okay.
So you don't just like create an opening, you just rip it. And there is this sense, it's this like this whatever this barrier was, you utterly just you just tear it. And now you are confronted with you are looking at this like mountain range, and looks familiar, but like something's different, like something you can't quite, not sure. And then while you're trying to figure that out, you hear this like deafening roar. And as you look up, there is this sort of serpentine dragon thing that is just like, it's difficult for you to wrap your head around how big it is.
Right.
It's got that thing where something gets so big it starts looking like an optical illusion. You're like,
yeah, that's too big.
You're kind of like, that's huge. How do you know? Well, the mountains are for scale. Oh, okay.
Oh.
And it's like, and it kind of gets worse when you sort of realize, oh, it's actually it's further in the distance than I realized it is.
Yeah.
And you can see it's just it's thrashing around in the air. And as you look closer, and it feels like you're moving closer, you see that it's actually fighting this group of smaller but no less imposing beings, and you realize that these are gods. Some of whom you recognize. You see the Dire. You see Pestilence. You see the Way Home. And there are a few others that you sort of like, if you were to guess, you could maybe guess who they were. Like one of them is like, that might be the Orphan Maker, but you're not entirely sure. It does seem to meet some of the descriptions you've heard. The descriptions are mixed. Others you just don't recognize. You're like, I don't know who these gods might be. And they are all fighting this gigantic entity. And as you watch, it seems that the gods are getting the upper hand. Some of them are just like each time it attacks, sometimes it just swallows like 2, 3, 4 gods, and they just seem to just go. You're just like, it's just given how you are aware how much effort it is taking. It's like those gods. It's like, in your being, those gods aren't just killed; they're gone. And you're just like, what? And then finally, after what seems like days of this conflict, the gods seem to be managed to get the upper hand. This giant dragon thing is wearing out. And then the Way Home gets a kill shot. There's an opening, gets the kill shot, and this massive creature slamming into the ground, right into that mountain range. And you suddenly realize what was weird is because that was the mountain range that you know of from your home. And the reason it looked different is because it's a different shape, because this giant creature crashing into it reshaped the land, as it were. And its body basically carves a path through this mountain range.
Yeah.
And that's where it lies. And then you watch, and things start basically going faster and faster and faster. And you watch as the gods go away, and as rapidly goes, this body starts to decay, and you're realizing this is over the course of days, weeks, months, years. And as you watch, you realize it's that the structure that you're familiar with of the road called the Great Worm,
Yeah.
is the corpse of this
Great
giant of this great worm, and that what you would have previously thought of as just like this structure, this sort of arc structure, that's its rib cage, that's its spine. It's not like, but as it gets worn down and the details get worn smooth, it starts to look more and more like less like bone and more like what you'd recognize it as, this structure that forms this road. And you realize that where that crossroads is, where you saw the Great Worm, that's where its head was.
Hmm.
That's like it's the entrance into this road was its head, and that just gets worn away to nothing. And then so time sort of snaps back, and you realize you've just sort of been standing there, and you don't remember actually traveling, because you were sort of in a vision walking along these roads. There was like a barrier in the river, you pulled it down. You were just traveling along a road you saw in a vision. You were now standing in that same spot where you were, but in the present time. And you realize you were watching it. You were sort of sheltered from time, but you weren't watching a vision of it. You were watching it happen. And you have been standing in this spot for thousands of years as time just moved around you. And you are now standing looking upon this mountain range, this in the, down there, you can see what is now just referred to as the road, the Great Worm.
Are there any remnants of gods around here?
There are some, but like remnants of their influence, not so much actual bodies.
Mm.
And it is a sort of thing, as I said, like once you actually start recognizing it and being able to see it, you realize it's kind of everywhere. This place is kind of littered with corpses. It's weird this place isn't beyond the Great Worm, which is sort of like, when you look at the Great Worm isn't a god in the same sense. It reads as something else. And it like there just aren't remains around here.
I would like to feel out this dragon worm road historically.
Yeah.
I want to know why. I want clarity about what the way home used to kill it. And whether it was of importance to her. The welcoming thing is that it feels that I'm answering the first question, which is what is welcoming. The welcoming thing is that whatever this creature was, I feel kinship with it. I feel like we want the same things and we tried for the same things. Yeah.
And so what was the clarity was what
what is it that she put into it? Because she'd have had to put
Yeah.
something of herself into it.
So what you sort of realize, in the same way that when you kill a god or when you get that god into that state, you are in many ways tied to that god. Like you get an aspect of their power, you get an aspect of them goes into you.
Yeah.
But also, it could end up you could end up being cursed. You could end up being like there, but it's like there is just this connection now that will always happen when you get into that situation.
Yeah.
And it seems like in a similar way, it's like it kind of almost feels like in the way that you to the god is like the gods to this thing. And so in the god's effort to kill it, because the way home was the one that actually did the killing, there is that connection. So it's not so much how they killed it, but the fact that they did, that it was them doing the killing. And what, as you continue to notice, you realize that sense of nothingness that was so unnerving and so confronting, you get that same sense the more you sort of hear even just the remains of this entity. You get that same sort of, it's almost like this sort of like primal horror of like seeing utter nothingness. So it's not this is empty. It is actual nothingness.
So this location is nothingness.
This being is somehow connected to the nothingness.
I would like to take a piece of the being. If there is any piece around for me to take.
You can definitely head down, because like what looks like a sort of like a fanciful art structure is just its body. As you get closer, you realize that like a lot of that energy is not the right word. That feeling of nothingness that has sort of seeped into the ground over time. So it is still part of the body, but it's also like it's either infused with or like, you know, whether it's like, you know, in the sense of like a radiation spill or like but it's seeped into the very like this sort of sandy soil, particularly around what is now the crossroads, which was the head, or because essentially it's like its mouth kind of went into the that is where it's probably the strongest.
I will go into there and get some.
So you get some of the soil, you get some of the pieces of the collect all that sort of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are other people there. You're not like alone. This is it's a crossroads. It's a thoroughfare, but like no one's
really looking at me.
It's not like it's sort of, it's probably not like its biggest sort of.
Are there any worshippers around here?
There are definitely of various gods, but as the most prominent crossroads in the area, there are definitely worshippers of the way home here as well.
I think I'll go and speak with one.
Yep. There are probably like, I think like a few of their shrines probably act more like milestones in a sense. But at the actual crossroads, they're not like big buildings. They're just sort of like spots near the crossroads. But this is probably, as I said, this is the most prominent one. But it's still not. They're wanderers. They don't do big structures. But
no, I wasn't expecting a temple or anything.
Yeah.
It was more like a.
But it's sort of like of the temples. Of the temples they don't have, this is the most important.
Yes, of the temples that don't exist for them, this temple is here.
Yeah.
Hail, traveler. No. Do you Do you feel her presence here?
Just to a.
Someone who looks like they're worshipping the way home.
They sort of turn around. They sort of look a little irritated, like you're interrupting them in mid prayer, and they sort of.
I probably did.
Yeah. Sort of like they were doing something. You've interrupted them. It's like feel their presence everywhere, wherever we go, but it is, I guess, stronger at these points, these crossroads.
Have you ever asked her for anything?
Specifically, nothing more than to watch over the travels of mine and other travelers. Help guide us where we wish to go and help us find our way home once we're done.
And what do you give her?
I guess my commitment to the journey.
Is that enough?
It's what they ask. Gospel is one of seeking, seeing beyond the next horizon, but then knowing when it is time to return.
Knowing when it is time to return. How do you know?
Well, that's the trick, I guess. When is your wandering finished? And I wouldn't say it's finished. One journey finishing does not mean another journey cannot begin.
Do you think that would happen with or without her?
I don't.
If she were not there to guide your path, do you think that would happen regardless?
I don't know. I guess in theory, maybe less people would make it home.
Do you ever think of what's gone and what's past and try to trace back to there?
I reminisce, I guess. But sometimes, some moments you can't return to, but they can be remembered fondly.
Or not, as the case may be.
Indeed.
You trust her?
It's a... I don't know if it's a matter of trust. I have faith. I have faith that she wants us to wander, but ultimately also wants us to come to make it home. I have faith that she will guide us to that end, but it's not. It's not a surety. It's never a surety.
That's not what I was asking. I was asking if you trust her.
It's sort of like you're struck that this person never thought of it in those terms. It's not like, it's sort of like you're sort of asking, do I trust that the sun's going to come up tomorrow? It's like, I don't trust the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but like,
Or do you trust the sun to come up tomorrow? As opposed to, like, do you trust that it will come up? Do you
Yeah,
trust the sun's going to continue doing its job the way it should do it?
yeah. It's sort of like this is an entity beyond there. It's like they have. I presume that if I follow the Gospels, that there'll be an attempt, but like I don't expect divine intervention.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Thank you. Oh. Has she ever asked you to give her an item of value to you?
She's never asked me. She's never communicated with me directly before.
She probably has and you don't know it.
Potentially.
Potentially.
I'm always envision the guidance being more of a subtle thing than an active hand.
If you get lost, does she come and get you and bring you back? Or do you remain lost?
I think through their gospel we find our way home. I don't know if as I said, if it's so literal, although I've heard stories.
Okay. Ooh. I'm gonna... What am I missing? What am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing something.
What was the guidance you got?
I'm sorry?
What was the guidance? You asked for guidance before. What was the guidance?
I need to know why. Search for why. But how does... I just need to speak to her. She's the only one that could tell me why.
How do you intend to speak to her?
I mean, being a dick isn't gonna work. Although I want to. Just be like, I'm just gonna kill all of your faithful until you come talk to me. But I feel like that's a bit belligerent, you know. Just going through and systematically killing people. That's a bit much. How did I speak to her before? I asked her for help. Or I asked for
You
help
asked for
and
help,
she
and it
came.
was yeah.
I'm...
I mean, if you just want to go for like a direct competition you could do, I guess, to challenge someone dangerous.
Yes. But that feels dangerous.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
That's the one. But I think that's actually what I'm gonna need to do. What's the foolish or risky action I'm hoping that they will take? Ooh, I hope they will take. I need to read this better.
There's definitely been moments when you sort of you read the move and you go, oh wait,
Oh.
the divinity one being a big one. We're like, oh no, those aren't points to roll. Those are just yeah. Do you challenge someone dangerous in front of an audience, and what foolish or risky action do you want them to take?
I keep rolling 10 plus. I'm scared.
You have you
I keep rolling
you
well.
you hurt an old friend, and you rent time. So
These
somewhere
things
along.
happen. I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge the way home. I'm hoping that she drags me into her world and does that thing where like a villain monologues.
Fun.
I want her to monologue. I want her to tell me what it is that she is trying to pull by not asking me for something.
Yeah.
Why did you not make me pay for that? What were you hoping to prove? What were you hoping to get? Yeah, that's it. And depending on what I roll, I might add something else to that, what I'm saying to her, but let's see. I don't know about these statements. Does she care about my opinion?
I would say I think she cares about your opinion, and I think they think they're stronger than you. But that crowd is not on your side.
No.
Um,
But it is standing right in the smack bang in the middle of the crossroads.
yeah, you're definitely in there.
Right in that
You've walked into their house and you've just started like
yelling for them. It's like standing outside just knocking on the door. All right. Nine. I'm safe.
oof.
I'm safe. Was it six,
Um,
7? Yeah, 9.
what did I do? You I think that potentially there's this degree of frustration where you're sort of standing there. You're at the place you need to be. You've got you're constantly feeling like you're almost there. You've almost got what you need, but not quite. And it's kind of this degree of, well, what else can I do? This
Yeah.
is, and eventually it's like, well, I'm just going to just directly
I'm just
challenge
gonna
them.
yell at the sky.
And you are, yeah, it's just sort of like, crazy person yells at sky kind of
Yeah.
thing. So there's a degree of what is happening. Um, and for a moment, it does kind of like it's getting to that point where you just as you're getting starting to have that think of like, am I just a crazy person yelling at the sky for this? Like, was this a dumb idea?
Mm-hmm.
Like people are either like looking over at you weird or just trying to get like, the person you're talking to is just like, okay, I'm just gonna
I'll just.
we don't it's
Ooh.
been great. And then there's the sudden just like change, and you're standing there alone. You're alone in these crossroads. All the hustle and bustle, all the sounds stop. It takes a sort of like a twilight feeling. Uh, Gone from like middle of the day to the sort of like this, twilight. And then And also it almost like feels like you're at the crossroads, but anything beyond the crossroads is in darkness. It's like there's this twilight spotlight right on the crossroads. And then from just slightly out of your view, you hear this voice saying, "Why are you so angry?" And this figure that you recognize from before, this larger than life woman in well-worn traveling clothes, steps into this dim light as if just walking down the road. Why do you rage so in my home? And as they're talking, sort of, if it's not quite like, is that feeling as if they're sort of like circling you, but then they're not. They're always sort of like, it feels like they're either coming in from into the darkness, in from the darkness from one of the roads, or leaving. And it seems it just keeps changing. Each time they change, like their form is slightly different. It's always just this sort of like towering person in this traveling garb. But whenever they talk, the voice seems to be coming from everywhere.
Right.
And it's like, well, you wanted my attention. Here I am.
Why?
Why?
Why
What?
ask? Why did you help me?
Well, you were lost. You asked for guidance. I help those who are lost. It's what I do.
Did you get?
What do you think I got?
I don't know.
Like I said, I help those who are lost. It's part of who I am. It's what I do. What I had hoped, well, I was hoping you'd take out my sibling, but
Which one?
yes. But specifically, you were very angry at Dyer, and frankly, I feel like their usefulness has long since passed, so I helped. I hoped you would deal with that situation. Seems I was wrong. That's a shame.
So now what? Because a debt you thought was paid is not paid.
Wasn't a debt. I told you I helped because you're lost. And there was opportunity I thought I could take advantage of. It didn't work out, but that's fine. There's other means. I'm patient. There'll be other lost souls to help.
Am I lost now?
You literally called out for me because you didn't know where to go.
Oh, I'm so angry. I don't even know what to do. I'm so angry. I'm gonna tempt fate. I think Kai just kind of wants to punch her in the face. Is that's inflict violence? That's not tempting fate.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
go
like it
inflict.
could be tempting fate, but
I think initially we'll go with inflict violence, and
yeah,
then we might maybe
might need to tempt
becomes
fate.
tempt fate.
Uh,
Are you desperate? I feel like it is personal.
is
Would you say you are desperate?
um, I would say yes. Because it's the level of anger where it's like, I don't have two brain cells to rub together right now. I'm
Yeah.
just angry.
I'm going to say that they have been goading you. They kind of, so I'm going to say that they do, at least in some way, wish you harm. So we're going to make that up for the full +3.
That's a 9.
So they've been sort of like, as I said, the voice doesn't need to be coming from everywhere, but their form is just sort of like either entering or leaving at any given moment, and you can sort of you're just hearing this smug condescension, and eventually you just lash out. Are you lashing out like physically, like I said, punch them in the face, or is it like sort of more of this blast of divinity? Or
I think it is the dark light comes
yeah,
back again, and it's a punch circled by that.
yeah,
Because it's a punch that will hurt a god, is what I'm
you
looking for.
as you do this, like they don't even seem to put up a defense. They're not even like trying to get out of the way. And in fact, they just sort of have this like, oh, wow, look at you, aren't you cute? And as you hit, and it just like body just kind of turns to mist, like it kind of like barely even feel like you're hitting anything.
Unsatisfying.
And then they just walk in from on a different road, and they're just like, oh, always just so impulsive.
Uh, I want to rot the road. I want it destroyed, as if no one walked it.
Yeah.
I just think that throwing, like, none of this will work because I don't have. I mean, I assume this is what she looks like, but I don't have her thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what I do. But I'm so angry, this is just what I'm doing. That is a.
Would you say you're desperate for this to work? Marking upon a strain?
No. I think I'm just
We have
letting
flat
it out.
roll.
That's a 4. Is it 4? Hang on. 3, 4. Yep.
So you go.
5 because I'm in her domain, but yeah.
It's the domain for the person you took the power from.
Oh, right.
But you are in, as you say, in her domain, and so you do this sort of like, and again, it's more from just like you are in this point of rage where you are just like lashing out, and
Yes.
so you're not doing this with full control, and so you go out, and it's like either it's not going to work, or as you said, you could push yourself, take 2 strain, and then you can do the thing you're trying to do. So either power doesn't work and they will seize on your weakness, or
I will not take the strain.
right.
They can seize on my weakness.
So you go to do this, and it's just like it just sort of feels like it was like something just clamps down on your ability and stops it from leave. Like you feel it building up in your body, and they just go, no, you're not doing that. And then...
Do you ever become a tantruming toddler to a god?
Yeah. And it feels like something... It does feel like something's like holding you. You feel like you've been grappled. You've been held. But the god is still just walking in and out. They're not actually doing anything, but you are brought to your knees and just like it feels like something is like holding your arms and just pushing you to the ground. And it's like, no, and that's not amusing as this is. Let's not cause too much damage. I could help you, of course. You seem so lost. Guide you to the things you wish to go to, point you in the ways you wish to go. Surely that would be helpful.
Don't stand still.
Do I not?
No.
Interesting.
Am I able to move at all?
You could sort of, you're not like paralyzed, but you are being like held down. So you could struggle against that, whatever it is. Like I said, it feels like something's like just holding you, like pinning your arms to your side and then pushing you to the ground.
I want to pull some of that nothingness dirt out of my pocket and scatter it around.
You immediately are released. And there's this sort of like, it's like hiss, and it's like, now why would you want to do something like that? You don't even know what you're playing with.
I want to take that dirt and block off the roads. Just sprinkle it like a salt circle.
Yeah.
Just block off roads and see what happens.
Sort of like...
Does she keep moving?
It's already like the road sort of like previously, like the road would be going out and it would just go into darkness, and eventually it just sort of like, when you put it down, it feels like it's like, it doesn't change too much visually, but it now feels like it's not just like slowly going out into the darkness. It feels like it just stops into nothing. So like visually looks the same, but but the feeling this place is giving is just like,
we're closing.
You're closing off roads essentially.
If it's a full cross, I'll block this one and this one.
Yeah.
And leave those two there. And then just stand right there with some of that dirt. I just want to know what she chooses to do, where she chooses to go.
So where do you say you're standing? Just there? Which are you
I'm
saying?
just standing. So basically what's left
Crossroads.
these two.
Yeah.
I'm standing at the junction of those two.
Okay. The figure steps out from one of them. No, actually, the figure steps out from both of them, and it's just like, what are you doing? I offer help, and you lash out. What are you hoping to achieve?
I had Lust for what is gone and cannot come back. There is no way home. There is no way back.
Both figures laugh.
I'm going to block off another one.
Whichever one you approach, like as you walk up that road, that one just vanishes to mist, and you close that road. The other one's still laughing, and it's just, do you think you're so unique in your pain? Do you think the concept of home is so concrete? There's always a home. And there are always struggles. We're not special in this. And you, as a reminder, just as a reminder, well, mostly for the audience, any audience, I guess, that's half of the trigger for your ability.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I'm about to awaken. You could have helped me.
It did help you.
You turned me to your own purpose.
The fact that our purposes align does not mean I didn't help you.
Do your faithful know?
Know what?
How hungry you are.
We're all hungry. Mortal and God alike.
I would like to wield a power.
Uh-huh. Your audio's gone weird.
Oh, yours?
Oh, now it's back.
Okay. I would like to have water come in behind her and slowly push her toward me and the dirt. Yeah, that's the goal.
Unless you're desperate, mark strain is a flat roll.
Okay. What is that? 4? 4 plus 3 is 7.
So the water rises up from this one remaining road, but as it flows past, it's like there aren't even like ripples. There's no, the water doesn't interact with them.
She's not here.
And she looks down and it's just like, still lashing out without understanding. Immensely disappointing. I offered you direction. You have so much potential.
And give me direction.
Wow. You can come into my home and threaten me. Why would I want to help you anymore?
Because I can kill a god.
So can I. and you've been so successful at that so far. Look, indicating at the again at the water, which is like clearly rushing at a speed that's designed to. It's clear what the intention was, but it's just like didn't even is having no effect at all.
Right.
You are flailing in the dark.
Vagabond.
Yes.
What aren't they telling me?
This is not their true form.
Mm-hmm.
But their true form is here. They are in this space.
Yes.
You have not yet seen their true form.
Then I will let the water flow away and I will block off that last road. Because I can only assume at that point that what held me down was actually the god. And the god is somewhere here. I'm out.
I've been here the whole time. It's not my fault you can't see me.
What does that mean? I look up, I look down.
Roll to recognize a god.
Yeah.
That's a +3. You're in their domain. You're familiar with their gospel, and it'd be bad if you didn't know.
If I don't know. Oh, that's a 10 on the dice.
So, yeah, you sort of look and you realize, obviously, these figures you've been seeing aren't them. They're not even here. They're illusions at best. And you are looking all around this space, in this sort of twilight gloom, and then you spot a set of footprints, and you sort of, and you manage to do that initially without you sort of there's a set of footprints there, and you're like, okay, and then you keep looking, and then when you look back, the footprints have moved, but there aren't other footprints. It's just there's a set of footprints, and then you sort of every time you notice they are moving, and it does essentially. If those footsteps had remained, you'd be like, oh, that's someone walking. But it's like one footstep just vanishes and then appears, and then they don't leave a trace of footsteps. They are just two footsteps, two footprints. But as soon as you get that realization, the voice is just like, there you go, very clever. And you will need to...
Oh no. Act impulsively.
I guess because they now know that you know, essentially.
Is it their footprints? In which case, I'm going to rub the remainder of the dirt in my hands.
So I think, and I'm happy for you to pick which one you prefer, but I feel like you need to either, because they know that you're aware, and so they're like, okay, we can stop playing now. So you'd either have to they're basically going to come for you, and you will need to either, I think it'd be either challenge someone dangerous or tempt fate. it could also be inflict violence if you're just like no, it's on now. We're just lashing out.
I'm gonna tempt fate.
Yeah.
Rubbing that dirt on my hands.
This might be a flat roll.
Well, I
like
have no other options at the moment, so.
Well, like I said, you did. I gave you a bunch of options. So like you are essentially avoiding their as they lash out rather than meeting them head on.
Oh, in which case it's challenging someone dangerous. If they're lashing out at me, I'm hoping that they will take a foolish and risky action and fully reveal themselves to me.
Yeah. It's a +1 in that case.
Okay.
They don't care about your opinion, and there is no crowd to be on your side.
It's a 5.
Essentially, you just get this feels like someone just punched you in the stomach. All the air just escapes from your lungs, and you're left kneeling and gasping, and you take 2 strain, or
immediately do something foolish and risky and
you do something risky.
I'm going to do something risky.
So it's like you either can do something silly to sort of stop this hit, like basically in the moment you get hit, you've done something silly to sort of like.
I'm going to inflict violence. I feel a punch in my gut. That means there's something near enough to punch me in the gut. I'm going to punch back. Can I do that?
It certainly can.
I'm wondering. Risky. I don't know where they are, what they are.
Yes. Yeah, let's just do that.
Yep.
This should be a probably +3, I guess.
Yeah. Nine.
So you get hit, but you manage to sort of like roll with it, essentially.
Yeah.
And you can feel your divinity awakening, as it were, this radiance with this dark radiance within you. But in that moment, you come very close to just like essentially blasting it out.
Yeah.
Without giving it too much thought. But you manage to collect yourself enough. You have this sort of like you just sort of pull it and you're like, no, I need to be smarter about this. I can't just keep lashing out at something I can't see, that I can barely see, and I can't. So you actually, instead of just immediately just like wasting this awakened divinity, you actually activate it and then cling to its control. So you now have active divinity.
Does this mean I can kill a god?
I mean, we've looked at the Unleashed Divinity move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is. You have reached a situation where it's probably difficult without, but you have unleashing your divinity is just literally like, tell me what happens.
But what I'm looking for is unleash divinity, but to kill a god. That's the goal. So do I roll the crucible move of to kill a god?
I think, particularly given the time, but given that the Unleashed Divinity move is basically just, it is literally you exert your will on reality. and you would just tell me. I feel like, and I'll get you to describe it, but I feel like within that you could definitely set up a thing where you can, because it's really, the point is you have to try and get the downfall to meet the heart, and I think within that, your ability to control reality, you can make that happen.
So
the power to do literally anything. I think you can be like, you can think of a way, and I'll get you to tell me what it is, to get the remaining soil to this to this god, and then at which point you will be able to roll to either kill or spare them, depending.
I think what happens in this moment is essentially a scrap fest.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, they are both punching each other, but it's so it's just like punch, swipe, down, oh no, up.
Yeah.
But and it's
tricky because there's probably multiple of their figures that you have to keep reminding yourself that's not. But then sometimes that figure hits you, and you're like, oh, that actually hurt.
And that actually was you. Shit. So at some point, Kai stops paying attention to that and starts paying attention to the ground and starts paying attention to those footprints and only those footprints. And so stays low to the ground and then realizes there is dirt on their hands.
Yeah.
And goes to grab and erase the footprint with the dirt. And essentially swipes the way home onto their back that way. And I think the way that they are trying to kill this god is by cutting off the feet.
Yeah.
You can't walk home if you can't walk.
You pull them down, and there's just this scream. As I said, every time they talk, it just comes from everywhere. So you're surrounded by the scream of this god, and they're just you don't know what you're doing. Or a child lashing out in blind in the dark.
You're a condescending prick.
Actually, we're killing a god.
We're killing a god.
Killing a god.
Please. It is a 6.
Oh. As you just pull the essence of this god, and you start to just tear, because your hands are covered in the thing that you start tearing at it. You're tearing at the footprints. You're tearing at
tearing it down completely.
And it's just you just hear screaming from all around you. And then there's a moment where all that stops. It's just complete silence. And you just hear, before you heard it from everywhere, now it's just in your ear, like someone's put their mouth next to your ear and whispering to you, "Thou shalt not return home." And then suddenly everything comes back, the light, the thing. And you realize that the screams you've been hearing are all the people at the crossroads. And there is just devastation in this area. There are, massive rents torn out of the ground. There are there's bodies strewn about. Everyone is either cowering or fleeing or trying to help someone else, but it's all just turmoil, and you're at the center of it. I
think before anything else, I pick up another handful of that dirt Put it in my pocket.
You are filled, obviously, with an essence of their power, or an aspect of their power, which is navigation.
Ooh. Navigation.
And there's not, you get the same sense, like that same feeling of this like pulse of change that you got when you killed the winter rot, but there's not as much of an immediate like apparent change.
Yeah. Nothing's really like, if it's the way home, it's people's like thought processes.
Yeah.
More likely that have changed than.
But it would be amiss to believe that
Nothing happened.
a lot of that, some people who were lost are now going to be lost forever. Some people who, some people will be found. Some people will suddenly decide to just leave. They'll just be suddenly filled with a wanderlust. Some people will give up on whatever they're doing and return home.
Good.
But that's much more of a. It's not as visually apparent as rot going weird. It's a sense of wanderlust going weird and navigation going weird. So.
And Kai saw this change, and that it was good.
Looked around at the people screaming and crying and was like, yes.
This is how it should be.
I've done a good thing here.
I've done good. They really do feel like they've done good.
Yeah. They have definitely convinced themselves of that, yes.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. They've convinced themselves they've done good. The gods, what are the gods if not just there to feed themselves and take away people's autonomy and ruin the world that way?
Yeah.
They don't have gods to worry about.
Sure. They just have you to worry about.
I'm only mortal.
Sure.
I can get to anywhere but home. But where is home? That's why for Kai, it's like return home. When was I going to do that anyway?
Yeah. It was like if you'd rolled, I was like, given that you've been rolling 10s, 10s and 11s, I was like, it will be kind of funny if you do it, because it's like that's actually that's like a good result now. It's like it'd be it's such a justification of like everything you've just done. It's like, look at this amazing thing you've done. But now it's like it's gone the worst way, and Kai's still like, yes, I did good. It's like even the face of it going the worst way possible was like,
I did good.
I've done well.
I did well. I feel like honestly 7 to 9 would have been worse for Kai.
Yeah.
I feel like on a complete miss, that's okay. We're cursed. Yeah. We weren't going home. We can't go home. Like
that would be it's an interesting, because it's like in both the curses and the powers, like it's like, what does that mean? It's like you basically just take the broadest interpretation of what that might mean. Like, we had that person whose the curse was that they wouldn't forget, and ultimately meant that they also didn't die.
Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed to. They weren't even allowed to be killed.
Well, honestly, that is why they picked up the handful of dirt, because this now feels like home to them because of the worm. This feels like home. So they can't return. So they know they can't return. So they're like, let me take a little bit of this place with me.
I'll take I can't go home, but I can take some of the nothing.
Yeah, let me take some of this nothing with me. The nothing feels good. It should really be concerning that the nothing feels good.
Yeah. I mean, I do like obviously we're, part of what doing this is just try a bunch of new games.
Mm.
And I do love, like, I love, obviously, like the collaborative narrative building that all role playing games are to an extent. But I do like, particularly because it's designed to be done with two people. There's much
Yes.
more of it. Like, no, like you do have to. There's a degree of like it has to be a back and forth. It can't. You're not just like, it's not just me creating a world. It's sort of like,
No.
all right, something happened. You can explain this. You can explain how this goes. You can explain how this happens. And it just sort of like, and I love how like stuff like this, the idea of like the domains going kind of crazy when the gods aren't there.
Yeah.
It's such an, it's not in the book, but I think it's a wonderful way of always making that choice difficult. Where it's like, power, the domain was navigation. It's like now navigation's a
Navigation.
little funky.
Poles.
Yeah.
Time. Space. Free
Uh,
for all.
but also at the same time, I was like, because I didn't. Part of that means that for me, like, there's only so much planning to be done. Like, you can have this like a vague
Oh
sense,
yeah,
but it's
you
like,
don't have to do anything really.
but it's like, if you had decided to go for the Orphan Maker rather than the Way Home, it's like that's a different.
It's different.
So part of it was like the whole thing, because their heart is footsteps that appear with no body,
Oh
and their downfall is sand from the mouth of the great worm.
well.
But it's like, what are those things? But it was like, part of that was like, we know that you'd gotten some kind of information from that vision. So I was like, well, what if that place that you saw is the mouth of the great worm? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and part of me is like, let's not go literal. Then I was like, but what if we also go literal?
Yeah. What if literal?
And it's like, all right, we can just, and you get to this sort of, it's a fun system.
It's a
In
fun
that sort of,
system.
in the way that, and like, you can kind of just like pick up of, you're describing a vision, and I'm like, yeah, you go into this vision, and then you actually travel through time through an extent, because your powers go a little nuts. And so it's like, you don't just see the answer. It's like, no, you're just sat in what time passed for a couple of thousand years. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
And then that's a thing now. Now there's, apparently there's an entity, this dragon thing that's above the gods. Like, that's the
Great.
thing. What does that mean? That just eats them like popcorn. It's just like, yeah, okay.
Someone's got to.
Yeah. And like, because you picked the wrong, but picking any of the other three changes the tone as well. Would have changed the tone.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a fun game.
It's good to. I'll definitely be, because this is like, it's not properly released.
It's not no.
This is the sort of like
It's First Blood.
Yeah, this is just the. It's the what's it, the introductory set that sometimes they'll do. So I'm curious to see what like, because I'm trying to like, what else more are you putting in? Like, you've got the
I think
bones
they
of it there.
more gods and stuff. I hope they don't change anything about the character sheet, because it's fantastic. I love it. Like,
yeah, like, I'm assuming like
really useful.
Part of it is like, you're just adding more. Like, here's more suggested. Like, here's like, maybe they expand the number of like suggested gods, or they could expand the number of origins. They could like, but like, I can't imagine there's much more because part of the game is that whole sort of collaborative narrative. So it's like, they don't need to give you stuff; they just need to give you the tools, and then go, okay, go invent.
Once they once they've updated it, I would love to play it again. But for right now, from a epilogue standpoint, because we're only going to do unless I'm going to go after the Orphan Maker.
Well, the plan was to do three, just sort of.
The plan was to do three.
Give a.
Which
it's very funny when I was like, let's do one shots, and it's like, no, we want to try this one 3 times. It's fine.
I want to try this one just a little bit more. As an epilogue, Kai keeps going until, not because they're killed by a god, but I think the populace eventually overwhelms them.
Yeah,
I feel like that's where they end up. They just keep killing gods until people start going, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. It's like, you are causing more problems than the gods are causing.
Yeah.
You have become a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Because at that point, though, like,
and
you're kind of Kratos in this thing, where you're just there's the early Kratos who's just angry and just killing everyone, and then eventually is like, oh, that didn't help. none of this has been useful for what I've.
Well, I don't think they ever come to that conclusion. I think they come to the conclusion that with all of the mortals coming to kill them, they don't stop it. They don't fight against it. What they see it as is, look, the mortals are strong enough. They don't need me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of their end. They never really go in the other direction of, no, please don't kill me, or I'm going to kill you humans deliberately. It's
Yeah.
purely my work is done if you actually have stood up to do something about something.
Yeah.
You're seeing the world as it is. That was what I was here for, to make you all see the world as it is.
Which conversely could also be something they say to Kai, being like, "You don't get it. You're not helping.
Yeah.
You haven't helped at any point."
That is absolutely what they could say to Kai. And Kai would say, but you're killing me.
Stop you hurting us.
Mm-hmm.
I did love, like, you went to talk to your friend and they're like, "Please go away," and you're like, "I'm going to prove to you that that I can do," and just cause so much turmoil.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're proving my point. What are you doing?
This is what happens when you have a god.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a Godkiller, you can kill a god.
It's a
Things
big.
get intense really
Yeah.
fast.
It should be like, that's the whole point. It's like, this should be a big deal to
Yeah.
to do that. It should be this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's finish there. What a dark and terrible character. What fun. That's fun.
Just. Oh.
So good night, everyone. Goodbye. We will be back with another game when we decide what that game will be and when to play it.
Yeah, we'll maybe potentially move back to more monthly, or maybe it won't. Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
that
At
too.
some point, we end up doing like a long form campaign. And be like, wasn't this a
Yeah.
one shot show? What happened?
It's just a
What's going on?
persistent campaign.
Yeah. It's like, what?
What's
What?
happening? Yeah. Okay. Bye everyone.
Yeah.